Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you to each of you for being here today and for your service to the country. I don't know, Mr. Secretary or Admiral Gilday, which of you would like to answer this question, but the Portsmouth Naval Shipyard has done the first shipyard infrastructure optimization program, dry dock modernization. It's a mouthful. Are there lessons learned there that you think should be applied to similar future projects in Hawaii and Washington, and what are they?
Very much so, Senator. And actually, I'm pleased that the progress in Portsmouth actually has remained on track, but it's been at the expense of many years of trying to understand exactly what we needed to do there from an engineering perspective. And those lessons learned are being applied actually in Hawaii. I just signed the first contract out in Hawaii for $2.8 billion, my staff did. And we've applied those lessons to what we're experiencing in Hawaii, although both shipyards actually aren't exactly the same, nor are the projects themselves exactly the same. But I'll ask the CNO to comment further on.
I think one of the things, one of the things that we learned, because these projects are so complex and we haven't done them in 100 years, is to bring the best in industry together in a group to inform how we move together. We didn't do that as well in Portsmouth. We relied on a single contractor. We brought together many more experts when we did the estimate for Hawaii, and the contract was just signed 2 weeks ago. I think we're in a better position with a design that'll keep us on track in a bit more challenging area in Hawaii than Portsmouth. But that said, we've learned a lot from Portsmouth in terms of how we both design and then move forward in execution.
Thank you. Well, thank you both for your support for that project and for coming to see it. I think it's been very impressive. General Berger, the Marine Corps is in its 4th year now of Force Design 2030. What have you seen in the Nagorno-Karabakh war or the Ukrainian war that has validated your approach to Force Design 2030? Are there lessons there, or are there changes that we need to make in response to what you've seen?
Boy, that could be a long explanation. I am patient.
You have 2 minutes and 33 seconds.
I've got it. I'm patient in drawing long-term lessons learned while there's a fight going on, because you can make a mistake too early on thinking you've seen something and we should change everything. We need to be a little bit patient. That said, though, I think we've seen enough to draw some conclusions, as you point out, because this is 10, 12 years observing this. We can draw some conclusions. First, the ability of a force to operate more spread out and empower, authorize junior leaders to make decisions at speed matters. There's almost ubiquitous sensing nowadays everywhere. You need to account for that. And some of the counter to that is basics of camouflage, and some of it is much more technical. Logistics, 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 logistics. And lastly, I would say the ability of a force to adapt is huge. It's hard to quantify, ma'am, but the fight that you're in is never the fight that they taught you in school. And we should be very impressed by the ability of Ukraine to adapt over the past year, all along the way, and the failure of Russian units to do the same. You have to adapt. The force has to adapt to what the environment they've got. And they've done a marvelous job of that. Outmanned, outnumbered. They have all the odds against them, except for NATO and the U.S. But they have adapted. We need to be able to do the same.
Well, one of the things that I understand you're working to do, and how does this complement that? But as it's been described to me, you're hoping to change from the Marine Corps' historically young force to a more experienced force. So how does that help us in those kinds of environments?
It's directly tied to it. If you're going to empower, if you're going to authorize junior tactical leaders to make really critical, key tactical and operational decisions, they need the maturity to do that. By maturity, I don't mean an age. I mean enough repetition, seen enough, done enough to see a close semblance of what they've trained for before and make a very quick decision. We have to mature the Marine Corps force to reach a better balance of a very, very young force versus a force that has enough experience in there to make those tactical decisions, which is at the root of what Force Design for us is doing. reach that right balance, retain more talent, and balance the experience that we're going to need with the youth that we've always had.
Thank you. And Secretary Del Toro, I'm out of time, but we had a hearing last week in the Armed Services Committee on recruitment and retention and the challenges that we're facing in our military. One of the issues that I think is very important to helping with recruitment, with retention in particular, is ensuring that there's childcare for families who are serving. I'm going to submit this for the record, but I'd like to know what we're doing to better expand our ability to provide childcare for DoD families. We've done a really interesting Congressional Defense Award in New Hampshire between the shipyard and Pease National Guard, who are doing a childcare facility jointly. Are there creative ideas like that that we're working on? But I will submit for the record.
Very quickly, we had 2 in the budget last year. We have 3 in the budget this year.
Great, thank you.
Senator
Mr.
Hoeven.
Chairman.
Thanks,